Hi, I'm Joe Heath.
I'm Toni Heath.
And this is Burn Noticed, a podcast about Burn Noticed, which is a podcast about Burn Notice, which is a show about characters. It's not that complicated.
Please keep up. I can't tell you anything because the cats decided to sit directly on top of my notes.
I can tell you that we are going to be talking about is it 6 or 7?
It's 7, man.
Episode 7 of Burn Noticed, which was
Noticed.
Episode 7 of Burn Notice, a show about characters, which was titled Broken Rules. Toni has taken the cat away and locked her in another room where she will begin to meow.
And scratch at things any minute now. Let's make this fast!
Broken Rules!
Would you like to hear my recap of my understanding of the plot of Broken Rules?
Well, first I want to say...
Oh.
Broken Rules is probably just a description of our rating system.
That's fair.
Sorry, go ahead.
The rating system's very Whose Line.
It's made up, and it doesn't matter.
And it doesn't matter. It's fine.
The cat just smashed into the sliding door between the living room.
She can't figure out
it's a rumpus room.
It's a sliding door, and she cannot comprehend what that means. So she just sort of pushes it forward repeatedly. Anyway,
recount the plot of Broken Rules as you have gleaned it from the Burn Noticed podcast.
Mr. Burn Notice, as I have come to know him, is fucking with mystery gunman Mr. Bly. Just for shits and giggles, it seems like. Bly retaliates by messing with people in Mr. Burn Notice's life. There were specifics given. I didn't write any of them down. I just know that there was something in particular that let Bruce Campbell be kind of sleazy. Something with his girlfriend and getting a car.
But getting the car had nothing to do with it, but...
Well, he was going to get a car, but then his girlfriend broke up with him, and, getting the car was his main concern. Yeah,
well, I don't know if she technically broken up with him. She was in the process of it. She was throwing shit at him.
So, Mr. Burn Notice takes the case of the week in order to get money.
You got it written down as cow.
Case of the week.
Cow. Okay.
So he takes the cow. Can we just call it that?
Yeah, let's call the case of the week the cow.
All right. He takes the cow to get money so he can have more money to fuck with Bly. Because right now, Bly is winning the macho fucking with each other fight.
Right.
And he needs money to do that. Not to eat or live.
No.
He only ever needs money for weird reasons. Even though he doesn't have any source of income but taking on cases, it seems like.
All right. What is the cow?
The cow is he has to save a bodega man from gang meanies.
Okay.
There are people who are... I haven't written down exactly what they say because I liked it. Making him pay the thug tithe. I like the idea that they are very specifically only asking for 10% of his income. Because that's how much a tithe is. I'm Catholic and I know that.
It's not just a Catholic thing.
Sure it is.
I went to a bunch of Protestant religions and you can donate your tithe.
Is it specifically 10%?
Yeah.
Because I've always been taught
it's supposed to be, but it's always like you throw a buck in the plate. Or you just pass it to your neighbor without putting anything in.
And you're like, don't look at this. Don't look at me while I just pass the basket.
Right.
I gave mine ahead of time. Don't judge me.
You get even worse if you just pretend to put stuff in that little envelope and you just...
If you just put an empty envelope in, as long as you're not taking stuff out, you're fine.
What if you get change? What if you put in a 10 and take out a 5?
Take out a 5?
Is that allowed?
No.
What if you put in a 5 and just take out 5 ones? You're like, I just need some singles.
There's a church that Joe and I used to go to, and they still send us the little tithing envelopes. I think they finally stopped, actually.
Yeah, because we moved.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. They do not have our new address. I always felt I would get them in the mail and then feel bad, as is the Catholic way. So, anyway, that's the case of the week. The gang is, way too aggressive. It's led by a woman boss? ?
A woman leading my gang?
It's more likely than you think.
We're all about memes here.
The reason why the gang meanies are so aggressive in, collecting their thug tithe is because they don't actually give a shit about being a gang. They want to buy up all the real estate.
Much like Lex Luthor in the Superman movies for some reason.
Mr. Burn Notice pretends to be a big meanie in order to scare away the other meanies. But that doesn't work for the reason I just said. My notes are perhaps a little bit out of order. And then Fee punches him in a scene that sounds really fun. I was listening to a description of it and going, that sounded like a good time.
I feel like you skipped a crucial bit, but go on.
I might get to it. I think my notes are a little bit out of order. So, because he's pretending to be this big meanie, he ends up being a part of the gang, and there's an assistant. Okay,
there it is.
The assistant to the meanie girl boss, and he isn't happy. And so they solve the problem by just fucking blowing up the meanie girl boss.
Yeah, they straight up murder her.
Just with a bomb.
They get the assistant guy to do it, but yeah. It's like when Batman blows up a tank next to a villain in Batman vs. Superman.
It seems like a very strong response.
Have they murdered anyone on the show yet? Like, have they straight up murdered anybody? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I mean, not at least to, like, solve a problem. So, like, the last week, the case of the week, it was like, we'll just make everybody shoot each other. But, that is just a case of, like, putting two groups together. This is directly like, no, we made a bomb. We very hornily made a bomb, because that's also in the thing. Apparently, it was very sexy, the bomb making. They made a bomb and just blew the shit out of somebody, and that was how they solved their problems.
That's how I solve my problems.
It most certainly is not. So I haven't really touched on the B plot, which is he gets the money, he makes a bunch of bogus accounts with Mr. Bly. Basically, I keep saying Mr. Bly, and I don't think he's, like, referred to as Mr. Bly in either the podcast, Burn, Noticed, or the show, Burn Noticed. But anyway, basically, like, sets him up, frames him in a way that it's like, it looks like you're working with me.
Do you want to explain that more? Or?
Yeah, I don't understand it.
From what I recall, basically what it was is he got this big chunk of money from Cal.
$10,000, which is a significant amount of money that he gives it back.
He basically just kept putting it from account to account to account. Like, he just took the same money and, like, deposited it over and over and over again. The same money. But it looked like, basically, that Bly was getting paid off by Mr. Burn Notice. There's just, like, a lot of deposits to his account from
Which
Mr.
I actually have in my notes that I'm going to stop calling him Mr. Burn Notice and start calling him Mr. Bone Notice. Because at some point during this episode, I think Chris accidentally calls him Bone Notice. And I think Mr. Bone Notice is a superior name.
Bone Notice is in my notes because he said Bone Notice.
Because he said Bone Notice, and it was really funny. And so from now on, we're establishing two things. Case of the week, Cal. Mr. Bone Notice, the main character in the USA Network TV show, Burn Notice. It will only get confusing if we start doing a podcast about Bones, which we won't because I can't watch it.
You just hate David Boreanaz?
No, it's gross. It's a gross show. When I used to work Master Control, it would play. And, like, every time Bones was on, you would look up and be like, I don't know, maggots and gross. There was always something gross on screen.
David Boreanaz?
No! Be nice to David Boreanaz.
Why? I think he's kind of a jerk.
Is he?
That's what I've heard. I don't know.
Damn.
I think he, like, did some shitty things. I could be wrong.
Everyone's a jerk.
I just remember.
That is very vague.
I just remembered there was, like,
I heard he was rude to someone at a party once. So.
No, I think he, like, cheated on his wife or something.
I mean, I don't know his business.
Like, what's the T on David Boreanaz?
Are you Googling it?
Yeah. David Boreanaz.
You have to Google David Boreanaz T.
Angel Buffy the Vampire Slayer inspired coffee tea mug. Scandal. Maybe. No.
What just happened?
My affair was good for my marriage, he said.
Okie dokie. I don't have time to unpack David Boreanaz's love life. That's a different podcast.
He's also in a penis flashing lawsuit.
What the fuck?
Yeah, anyway, that was it. He cheated.
Anyway, that's the plot of that episode of Burn Notice. Bly ends up backing off.
Yeah, it's a solid B+.
Also, most importantly, this is a 3 yogurt episode. It's very hard, like, because I'm obviously consuming this show in a very messed up way. Like, in a way that no one should consume media, ever. Like, I talked about that scene with Fee being like, it sounded fun. A lot of, like, the character scenes where you're like, yeah, that was cute and fun. It's just me listening to it going, I'm sure. I bet it was. Because of that, I think one of the characters I am most invested in this show is the yogurt. Every time it shows up, I'm like, oh man, this is a yogurt episode. Great. I love it when yogurt shows up. This was a good episode for yogurt.
You do realize yogurt is the talking dog sidekick.
To live in the world where that was true.
Wouldn't that be crazy if you just found out there was a talking dog sidekick this whole time and you just weren't aware of it?
That'd be fucking wild.
Because it was we were just calling him by his name and
by
not
his
like
name,
what he was.
Yogurt.
Everybody just knows there's of course the talking dog.
The talking dog
Burn
is my
Notice.
favorite character in Burn Notice.
Yogurt.
And I can't believe it hasn't come up before.
It came up, we just called him Yogurt. That's his name.
Dude, wait, you gave me a ranking. Was that my ranking my understanding or their...
Your understanding.
And what is your ranking of their...
A-.
A-. How come they get better?
Because they explained some things that you were a little unclear on. That I feel like they explained decently enough.
Just because I wasn't paying attention enough.
You gotta pay attention in class.
Oh, man.
We should do a podcast about Class, the Doctor Who spinoff. We might one day, actually.
We'll probably
get there. So what's next? Favorite moments. I have some moments. I have some things listed in my phone. I'm going to be honest. I listened to this on Monday. It is now Wednesday evening.
Yeah.
And
we listened to it in the car.
No, we didn't. We listened to it in the bedroom.
Oh, yeah. It was a completely different episode we listened to in the car.
We listened to this one together, though, because we had the day off. But we were also busy because we went and saw my mom because she just got out of the hospital.
Yeah,
she's doing all right.
We've had a couple of life events.
Yeah, my dad had a heart attack and then my mom had a heart thing. But they're both okay.
They are both recovering and feeling much better.
So we didn't record on Monday, but we listened to it on Monday. And then we were going to record on Tuesday, but you had a doctor's appointment on Tuesday and derby practice on Tuesday. And then we're going to record this morning, and I forgot to bring the mic. So it's been a whole thing.
So Joe's looking at his notes going, what does that mean?
Here are the things I found funny. Master Bader.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
I very explicitly found that to be unfunny.
That's the difference between you and me. I find that shit funny. Bri says Bly is too fly, and Chris judges her for it, but he is wrong. It is funny.
I like that we get to be the definitive voice on deciding who is right on what is and isn't funny.
Chris says boob twice in this podcast. I wrote it down.
Do you
once.
have that written down as your favorite moment?
No, this is just a thing I'm pointing out. He said I touched a boob at one point. He's not saying he touched a boob. He was saying it as a character.
As a character. I remember because it was particularly funny.
Yeah. I don't think Chris has ever touched a boob. That was just some, role-playing wish fulfillment. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where he's like, I touched a boob, and then he was like, man.
He gets to imagine...
That was a good world.
He gets to live in a world where he did, in fact, touch a boob once.
Yeah.
What's great about this now is that later, Chris cannot text us and be like, I've touched a boob. But he'll want to.
I have a question for... You know how they have questions for us? I have a question for Chris. Chris, have you touched a boob? Have you touched a boob? And does this key fit in your hole?
No,
that is
you
an
cannot put
joke.
that in the podcast. You literally can't put that in the podcast.
Does this key fit in your
You
hole?
can't put that in the podcast. No one knows what that means.
No, this key fit in your hole.
Joseph,
Yes?
do not put your obscure ass inside joke between just you and Chris Cherry into the podcast.
All right, fine, but...
Don't.
Does this key fit in your hole?
You're stupid, and everyone stopped listening.
He also said, come on the bomb.
Yuck.
This is a very sexual podcast. Also, Downstairs Party.
Downstairs Party was funny.
That
also
sexual.
I didn't talk about it, but there is also...
Oh, right.
There is also the trope of people just, fighting and then fucking, which remains mysterious to me.
It works in this episode, though. You'd have to see it.
It works?
It works.
Right.
I'm usually not super into it, but it works.
But, it made sense for them.
Yeah.
I don't get that. I don't get the, fighting that turns into fucking, but, I think I've already said this on this podcast. If somebody's, in a sword fight, and then, they lift your chin up with, the tip of your sword.
It's equivalent. It's not as gay, though, sadly.
You know what? Is that just the gay equivalent? Is that
Yeah.
is that why I like it more?
Yeah.
It's just gayer.
I have the note Fairy Realm, and I don't know what that's about.
Oh, because he knows his name. Now that he knows his name, he can mess with him. And that's fairy rules.
Right. I remember that now.
Mr. Bone Notice.
Mr. Bone Notice. Chris at one point mentioned having a car, which surprised me. Chris has a car? Can I tell this story?
Go. I mean, you have to, yeah.
So, I wrote a script, the plot of which does not matter. I let Chris read it to give me notes. And his first note was, where are you gonna get 2 cars? And I was like, Chris, I own 2 cars. I have a car, Toni has a car. I know multiple people who have cars. But Chris, at that time, lived in New York.
He just forgot.
He forgot about cars. People having cars. And
like, you're never, ever...
I'm never going to let him live that down.
You're never going to let him forget about it.
No. He just forgot that cars were something people had. I don't know if he forgot that cars existed. Because I'm pretty sure he has to, like, look out for them when he's walking down the street in New York. When he was walking there. I have 2 more notes real quick.
Okay.
Rapid dominance. I don't know what that's about.
Rapid dominance is a military term.
Oh, right.
That both Bri and Chris decided that they liked a lot. It was in one of the spy tips.
And of course Bri liked rapid dominance.
Yeah. I mean, I think Bri specifically was the one who was like, but I have that phrase now, and it's a very good phrase.
And then I have dynamic, but Chris is wrong, though.
You don't know what that means?
I think Chris was annoyed at something, and Bri was defensive about it.
But Chris was wrong. But you don't know what?
I don't know what.
Great.
This is great.
Great contribution to the podcast. Thank you.
Chris, you were wrong. I think she conceded.
I will say at some point during the podcast, Bri Castellini said turpentine, and I've been thinking about it ever since.
Yeah, I don't know why you're so obsessed with that.
Because it's turpentine.
She says
turpentine. I can't even say it now.
Turpentine. Well, she said, and she says turpentine later, though. It was just her being silly. It was her making a goof.
I can't stop thinking about it. I don't know why. It's just like it's stuck in my brain now. Turpentine.
Turpentine.
I do actually have a bone to pick with Chris.
A bone notice to pick?
A bone notice to pick.
Pick Chris's bone.
So, no. So, we talked a little bit about...
Hey, Chris, have you ever touched a bone?
No. So... There's that scene where they're making the bomb and it's really sexy, right? That's because making explosives is sexy?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because it's gonna explode.
Never do that again, please. So they're talking
like, come.
Please. No.
Alright, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't trust you now. Oh. See?
Sorry.
Be done.
I'm done.
Are you?
Yeah. Or am I?
They're discussing the scene about bomb making and how horny they are and how sexy it is. And I think it's Chris that says, like cooking is sexy.
No, it's not.
It's not. There are very few times that we have been cooking a meal together that I haven't wanted to murder you at least once.
I get very stressed out when cooking.
I think you would say that's fair.
Yeah, it's not sexy. It's terrifying. It's a fucking nightmare.
It's fresh. You're already hungry.
Yeah.
I, for one, have never been, hungry and in a good mood.
No, never.
Never.
I'm hungry.
You're hungry?
Don't know if I've put enough fucking salt and shit and things.
You're trying to do a complicated activity, and the person you're doing it with is like, how much? Is that enough salt?
Boiling and splashing on me, getting burns. It's a mess.
Did I cook the rice right?
I've pan fried some fucking toasted raviolis, and it was the scariest thing I've ever done. I almost died.
You didn't almost die. Also, those toasted
this
raviolis
ties in with our
should not be pan fried. Everything about that was bad.
This ties in with our other podcast where our first or second episode, we forgot to turn the stove off and almost burned our house down. And it's like part of our fucking theme song. Do not burn down the kitchen.
Yeah, we're a nightmare in the kitchen.
Kitchen nightmares.
Where that comes from.
Yeah.
It's actually named after us.
What's that guy's name? The angry British guy. All I can think of is John Benet Ramsey, and I know that's wrong. Gordon Ramsay. Gordon Ramsay.
Got there.
Gordon Ramsay it's like will not talk to us. He is terrified of us.
Right.
That's how bad we are.
Yeah. I mean, I won't...
He knows of us. That's how bad we are.
He knows of us and he's frightened.
Like, he put a restraining order on us and he never comes near here, but he's
not
just
for
that
any other
afraid.
reason other than he's just seen the food that we've cooked.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Cooking is not sexy. It's dangerous. It's frustrating. I've never done it while I wasn't already hangry.
Though I do frequently do it naked.
No.
How else you gonna stir the sauce?
I'm sorry.
I put my dick in it.
Okay.
I don't. That would hurt.
That would violate so many health codes.
I mean, there's a reason Gordon Ramsay.
That was it. That was the thing. I can't continue on.
Brun's dick stew was what I was making.
In this bit, because I don't want to know. First of all, fuck that. I don't want to know where it goes from here. I'm leaving it. Goodbye.
I guess cooking is sexual.
It is if you fuck the sauce.
So where were we?
I think the end of the end of the podcast.
Did they have any questions for us? I don't think they did.
I didn't know. They kind of breezed. I don't think so. They kind of. I've leaned back. They've kind of breezed through this episode. Really, I think
it's not a pun. Breezed.
It was not. No. How dare you accuse me of such a thing?
I think they also Chris'd through it.
I think in part because they liked this episode more. It seems like it's been one of the more competent episodes, at least in their eyes, that they kind of had like less to joke about.
Yeah. Oh, I know the thing now. The thing that Chris was wrong about. He said that Burn Notice went too over the top. Wrong. It was great and I loved every second of it. And like Bri concedes with her, and I don't think that's fair because he was having so much fun, which meant I was having fun.
Listen.
Yeah.
I think you have time and time again, throughout the duration of this very episode, proven that when it comes to what is over the top, you don't fucking get a say. You're a poor judge.
I'm a lot like the Riddler in Batman Forever. Was that over the top? I can never tell. Which is, I relate to that.
Would you like to rank this episode?
For knowledge is power. That a god am I. That's the scene.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's rank this.
You know what I love?
What?
I absolutely love when I'm in a conversation with somebody and they just start quoting things at me and I'm like, oh man, this is a good, productive, entertaining conversation.
Especially when it's Jim Carrey quote. So, yes, let's rank this AA episode.
I don't have the criteria in front of me, but it's fine because as we've already established, they're
fucked.
They're mostly made up and they don't matter.
So, is it a great episode of a podcast? Did it make you cry?
No.
Me either. Did it make you change the way you think about something?
No.
No. Did it make you laugh?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it made me laugh as much as some other episodes.
Yeah,
but...
it got a chuckle here and there.
Yeah.
It was entertaining.
Twerpentine.
Twerpentine.
Bly is to fly. There's some good jokes in there. Masturbator.
That one wasn't good. I'm sorry. I can't give it to you. I just can't.
It's fine. Bri, I think you're funny. So, it's not a great episode of a podcast. Is it a great episode of Burn, Notice?
What
What the fuck is the... Okay,
what's the criteria?
Is there an example of their dynamic?
You said yes, there was.
Yeah. I think it was wrong, but it was there. Dynamic was definitely there.
Did I feel like I understood
the plot
of the episode? Yes, I did. You confirmed, yes. I think you gave me a B minus.
You were a little wobbly on the dismount.
But that was my own attention issues, it sounds like.
Yes.
I also left out...
the fucking.
I mean, I brought it up, so I knew about it.
Lastly, did it flow?
Honestly, actually, I don't want to be mean, but I had it in my notes, and it seemed like there were a lot of awkward pauses in this one, and I didn't know if that was, like, an editing thing, like an editing choice, or what. But I would probably lean towards, like, no on that.
So 2 out of 3.
Not bad.
A good episode of Burn, Notice.
A good episode of Burn, Notice.
Was this a good episode of Bone Notice?
You know what? It was my favorite episode of Bone Notice.
It's a 3 yogurt Bone Notice episode.
I think we should actually just get rid of our ranking system entirely and award it an amount of yogurts based on nothing but what we decide. Based on nothing. You know what?
This one gets half a yogurt.
Based on nothing but what's inside our hearts.
Yeah, that seems fair.
And this one is 1 yogurt, but it's key lime yogurt.
Is that better?
No, it's worse.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think this is a solid yogurt.
A solid yogurt. When my mom used to, buy yogurt.
She doesn't anymore.
She doesn't. No, the thing about buying yogurt
Hates
is,
that yogurt.
You go on a diet and you buy a bunch of yogurt and then you go off the diet and then you don't eat yogurt again. That's how yogurt works. As far as I understand it. The flavors she would buy are, key lime, strawberry, and then, I don't know, a couple of other really good ones. And then, there was always, key lime left and you'd be like, oh, I guess I'm gonna eat this key lime yogurt. I thought it was strawberry banana, but it's not. It's just key lime. I'm gonna go let the cat out.
Oh, there's one more thing I want to ask real quick. Does this key fit in your hole?
You can't tell me.
Does this key fit in your hole?
Tell me you're gonna edit that out.
No.
No.
I mean, I can tell you the story.
You can tell them the story, but it's still not gonna be funny.
Just Chris and I said it to each other a lot outside of an escape room. In different voices, back and forth, all night, because we're cool.
It's not a moment that we all shared.
Yeah, but Chris is getting a kick out of it. Ain't you, bud?
Okie dokie.
Does your key fit in this hole? Chris, have you touched a boob? Chris, have you touched a bone? Bri, you can answer those questions, too.
I thought we've already established that they can't answer questions that we pose them.
I mean, they can text it to us. It doesn't have to be publicly.
So you're going to publicly ask them a question that they can't answer publicly.
Right. They can answer it privately, like God intended.
You do realize that, other people listen to this podcast, and it's not just Chris. You're not just making this podcast for Chris.
I am. I don't know what you're doing.
I'm trying to make a good podcast about the podcast Burn Notice that can be enjoyed by everyone. You're trying to have jokey jokes times with your best friend Chris.
Yeah.
No!
Because that, to me, is what I'd want to listen to.
We already said your favorite podcast is the podcast where Bri and Chris just talk about how great you are.
Yeah, get on that. Do the Minty Pineapple Countdown. So, we're done. Right?
We have to be done because we've run out of things to talk about.
This has been Burn Noticed.
Your favorite podcast